Buenos días, mi nombre es Daniel Mendoza y soy un piloto y teniente coronel en la Fuerza Aérea de los Estados Unidos. Estoy muy agradecido de tener esta oportunidad con LULAC para avanzar el diálogo sobre el aumento de la diversidad y la inclusión de la comunidad latina dentro de nuestras Fuerzas Armadas. Hello, my name is Daniel Mendoza, and I am a pilot and lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force. I am grateful to have this opportunity with LULAC to advance the dialogue on increasing the diversity and inclusion of the Latino community within our armed forces. Now, many in the audience may find it odd that the Department of the Air Force is working so hard to increase diversity and inclusion within its ranks. But one only needs to see the news and current events to see that our global community is growing more complex and volatile each day. If the U.S. is going to continue to lead and maintain its asymmetric advantage over its competitors, then it must be able to attract, recruit, and retain talented Americans from all backgrounds to leverage their diverse skills, unique experiences, and perspectives into our armed forces. Within this context, diversity and inclusion is not just another hashtag or bumper sticker, but a warfighting imperative. This is why the Air Force has taken a hard look at how it can remove barriers to service for minoritized groups in America. The simple truth is that the face of America is changing. In the next 4 decades, the U.S. Census Bureau is expecting over a 93% increase in the Hispanic and Latino population. Despite this rising trend, Hispanics and Latinos continue to be underrepresented across STEM-related career fields and as senior executives in the private sector. We see it too within our own air and space forces, as Latinos continue to be underrepresented in our officer corps and civilian workforce, particularly in the higher ranks of colonel to general, as well as in our civilian senior executive service. We also see this trend within our rated or aviation-based career fields, as more Latinos and Latinas are typically found serving in mission support or medical-based professions. If the continued strength and success of U.S. national security relies on its all-volunteer force, how can the armed forces and the Air Force in particular make sure it can recruit and retain the best and brightest that the Hispanic and Latino communities have to offer and not take it for granted? To ensure we are ready, the Air Force has been making progress to ensure we take a holistic look at how we recruit, train, and retain our Latino Air Force Airmen and Space Force Guardians. The Department of the Air Force has established a permanent secretariat-level office to oversee all diversity and inclusion initiatives across the Air and Space Force. It has also established diversity, equity, and inclusion offices with chief diversity inclusion officers all across their major commands. The Air Force also established barrier analysis working groups for minoritized communities to help analyze and assess any policies or regulations that might prohibit an inclusive environment that promotes dignity and respect for all our service members. I myself am a committee lead for the Hispanic Working Group, known as the Hispanic Empowerment and Advancement Team, or HEAT. As a total force team made up of active duty, Guard, Reserve, service members, and Air Force civilians, we are charged with bringing the heat as we tackle topics and issues specific and unique to the nearly 53,400 active duty Hispanic and Latino airmen and guardians serving in our Air Force today. Acknowledging that the Air Force needs more Latinos and Latinas in the cockpit as pilots, combat system officers, and air battle managers, the Air Force has made strides to increase meaningful engagement within the community. Programs such as the Aviation Inspiration Mentorship, or AIM-Wing program, ties Air Force bases with flying units and Air Force recruiting service efforts to the local community. When a base becomes an AIM-Wing, they are pledging to inform, influence, and inspire the most talented youth from diverse backgrounds in the local community. The Air Force has also increased scholarships offered at minority serving institutions. The Hispanic Serving Institution, or HSI Scholarship, is only offered at Title V designated HSI universities and offers up to $18,000 per year, up to 100% tuition, to include a monthly living expense of $300 to $500 per month and an annual book stipend of $900. The J100 in Leadership Scholarship was a new initiative started in 2021 to provide high school students through the Junior Reserve Officer Training Program with full tuition and room and board, increasing minority and female scholarship select rates. The Air Force's You Can Fly scholarship has provided over 776 Latino cadets up to $3,000 to obtain flight experience through enrollment in private pilot certificate ground school at a local FAA flight school. Most recently, on 17 February 2022, the Air Force, through the HEAT and Air Force ROTC, hosted its first HSI National Symposium, which brought together over 23 HSIs and 185 university faculty, staff, ROTC commanders, cadre cadets, and community group experts, such as LULAC, to identify and assess the barriers Latino students faced in enrollment and retention with institutions of higher education and Air Force officer commissioning programs. This event ensured open and candid dialogue occurred between university and Air Force senior leaders and is poised to impact Air Force policy and programs to continue to improve conditions for our Latino students and cadets. These topics are not just critical to the Air Force, but incredibly personal for me as well. I'm a first-generation American, born to undocumented immigrant parents who left everything they knew in Bolivia to look for a better life in the United States. I was in 4th grade when Immigration Services came to our apartment to try to take my family away. The image of my mother standing as tall as she could at only 4 feet, 10 inches in front of the immigration judge impacted me deeply as she made her case in her heavily accented English to explain why we were good enough to stay. She went so far as to show the judge my school report card as proof that we had a future in the United States. We were not only lucky enough to be able to stay, but I was also fortunate to have the chance to earn my commission and serve in the greatest Air Force in the world. I chose to serve not because it was my only option for a better life, but because I could serve and protect the country that had given my family so much. The fact that I could do this while flying a multi-million-dollar aircraft all over the world was an added bonus and fulfillment of a childhood dream. Even after years of flying, I still get butterflies right before I take off. When I think back to when I was a little kid flying around my apartment with a blanket tied around my neck as a cape. I share my story to highlight some of the common themes we discovered when addressing obstacles to a more diverse armed force or when looking at ways to strengthen community engagement. Above all, familia is everything to our Hispanic and Latino airmen and guardians. The Air Force does not just recruit individuals, but entire families. If our service cannot gain the trust of our mothers, fathers, or abuelos and abuelas, and keep that secret trust, then we will never be able to tap into the unlimited potential of our Hispanic and Latino communities. As a service, we need to be able to meet our Latino community where they are and on their terms. We need to start celebrating the unique experiences, values, skills, and cultural competencies that Latinos and Latinas bring to the fight and show them that there is a place for them here within the highest ranks of our military and civilian service. As a community, we've proven ourselves time and time again throughout U.S. history. Our hands work the soil of the fields that feed our families, care for the young and elderly. They defend our shores and protect our nation's way of life. They build roads, construct cities, create inspiring art and powerful music, and guide rockets and satellites into space. We just need our school books and our institutional cultures to acknowledge what we see every day. Despite the recent improvements the Air Force has made, I will be the first to say that there is still significant work to be done. This is where you come in. None of the branches of the armed forces can solve these problems on their own. We need to tackle these issues together with family and community in mind. Events such as these are exciting because they present new opportunities for unique partnerships that can bring about real change. As a Latino who has personally experienced many of the issues discussed today, I would like to thank Mr. Domingo Garcia, Ms. Cindy Benavides, Ms. Rafaela Schwan, and the rest of the LULAC team for hosting this summit and for providing us the opportunity to take part in this critical discussion. To everyone here in attendance, thank you so much for taking the time to listen and for your commitment to serve our comunidad. Siempre adelante, sin miedo y con ganas. Gracias.